Welcome to another episode of the Art of Braids podcast. I'm your host, Karen Tenord. So welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about one of my I think it's a very exciting episode and topic, and it's about play braids or having fun with braids. And the actual title is Braids in Motion: How Play Braids is Redefining Hair Play with Alli Parker. And our special guest is, of course, Alli Parker, Allison Parker, formerly. So thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. And please give us an intro of who you are and where you are and a little bit of your background.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. It's my favorite topic to talk about, hair. So I'm Alli Parker. My company is called Playbraids, and it's a company of one, so it's just me. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I'm in a salon barbershop shared kind of communal space that's really cool, that allows for all my creativity and my travel schedule, things like that. So I'm very fortunate. The space that I'm in right now allows for that. I've been doing hair legally for about um, 2 years now. I graduated hair school at 40 years old, which was fun. I had been doing braiding and styling for a while, and then decided I wanted to really dive into the industry. So I went to school. I went to the barber program at Paul Mitchell, Tampa. So I'm a licensed barber. There's no braiding license here in Florida. So I did have one when there was, but now there isn't. So I'm just hold one license. Yeah, and I travel with a couple different brands. I'm an educator for a barber brand and then a product brand.
Okay, so congratulations, even just thinking about going and pursuing your license. And so what, 40 is like what? For me, it's like next year, so it's still young. But no, like I think it's very important when you're pursuing something that you are passionate about to get as much education or credentials as possible, because I think a lot of people who don't have it, they have like this nervousness about them where it's like, oh, I'm looking over my shoulder, and people don't really listen as much if you don't have like that license where you can be like, listen, I'm a licensed professional, and they just take you a little bit more seriously. So yeah, and the fact that they no longer have a trade license in Florida.
It is what it is.
Okay, so
That's a whole other podcast.
exactly. All right, so I'm gonna go into a little bit of the personal journey of like how you got Playbraids started. So I wanted to know like what inspired you to start Playbraids, and how did you develop the concept of making braiding an interactive and playful experience?
So I had always braided since I was really little. I had a babysitter that taught me how to braid when I was like 3. So I was always just interested in playing with hair and, having fun with my friends and braiding my sisters and myself. And then fast forward when I had my daughter, she came home with a note from preschool saying that there was a lice outbreak, and that a good way to not get lice was to have braided hair and product in hair. And I was like, oh, I forgot somehow that I love to braid and that I know, the basics of it. So I started braiding her hair every day. And I'm the type of person that once I start doing something, I kind of go all in and get really zoned in and a little OCD about it. So I would do her hair differently every day. And then that just turned into her friends wanting their hair done. And then I started doing hair for her friends' birthday parties. And it was just a fun, I wasn't thinking business at the time. And then it kind of the ball got rolling and it turned into me doing events, little pop-up markets and fun events and more people. I met more people in the community, met some people that did runway shows. I started doing some bridal work and it just kind of snowballed. It's like once you meet one person, put yourself out there, it turns into 5 people, it turns into 10 people, it turns into thousands. Um, so yeah, I started doing a lot of really fun, creative things. And so it wasn't just, little girls, it was a lot of different types of people, different textures. And I really got interested in actually doing it professionally.
I can see that because it's like word of mouth is everything when it comes to hair. It's like, oh my God, she's doing my hair. You gotta go there. And they'd be like, I feel like hair is like the best like advertisement because when people are walking around, it's like, who did your hair?
Yes.
And it's like that glow that your client comes around and it just come like, I want that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get it. All right. So as far as your brand and mission, of course, you said you didn't think about starting a business. It was more of just like having fun, and also practicing and basically a preventative measure of like trying to stop your daughter from having any more lice.
We have ice.
Right, through braiding hair. Anything is like I don't so in our culture and braiding, I never thought that braids was something that can prevent people from having lice.
Yeah. So from everything I've learned and researched about it, and I actually was working for the company Fairy Tales that has like a lice prevention spray. Apparently, the lice prefer finer, lighter colored hair. So, and I have come across lice in children, and it's always little blonde girls. So anytime I've seen it, that's who it's been. I think what they say is that the lice can cling to the hair shaft easier. I don't know.
But is it probably because of like how like survival of the where they're where animals or insects or parasites kind of like try to camouflage?
Yeah, and they can get to the scalp faster on straighter, finer hair, and that's where they hang out. Ugh, I'm gonna be itchy now.
No, listen, I was like, wait, okay. So that's really good. So braids can prevent lice because they don't like braids. They don't I think they feed off of getting to the scalp. Is that what it is? So it's like if they take longer to get to the scalp, then they die in the process.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're educating people, educating. All right. So as far as like the combination again with not trying to start a company out of it, it was just kind of like I'm just trying to do this thing and it happened to be fun. And of course, when you're dealing with kids, you want to make it to be fun
Yes.
because if you're not, if it's bored or if it's painful or any kind of thing, they're like, I'm done. When is it over? But if they're enjoying the process and everything like that, they usually stay longer for some reason. Um, so how did you combine play braids with education and fun? Like what was the thought process of integrating play into the braiding education just in general?
I think I'm a fun person, and I'm around the kind of the industry greats now at all the shows I'm going to, and I'm meeting all of my idols and all these people that I look up to, and a lot of times it can be very serious, and I just think hair should be really fun. So keeping it lighthearted and um, it is a serious industry, and I'm not making light of that, but I think some people uh, miss out on the joy and the joy that we can bring to our clients. And that's what it's all about, turning that chair around and you change their day, you made them feel good. When my hair looks crazy, I don't feel good. And I know my kids don't feel good about themselves when they look a mess. And so just bringing that joy back and making it playful and not, such a mystery. And when I go in and talk to, the students in schools, I try to reiterate, like, this is exciting. This is joyous. This isn't, oh, I have to go to the salon again and do hair all day. If that's what's happening, you got to rethink, your goal and your why of why are you even doing hair?
Yeah, it's especially if a lot of people would be like new hair, like new me, especially if it's like after a breakup or life,
Ah,
like like a tragic moment or something. They just want to start over.
we cut bangs when we're sad.
Right. We cut bangs, we cut it all off. We be like, I'm starting over. I need a new look, new me. So when it comes to hair, definitely as a braider or stylist, you don't want to come with that energy because you set the tone. So it's like if you're ignited about like, oh my God, my client is trying a new look, right? Because they're usually a little scared. They're like, is it gonna look good on me? Like, so it's like to have like that high energy. It's not only for the client, but it's for you because it's like we stand on our feet all day. So we can't come to where like I'll literally claim like I'm gonna have a really good day before I go into like I have to pep talk myself before I go to speak to any client, just to make sure that my energy and my vibration is at a good place so I don't transfer that because
Yep. It's a thing. From the hands to the crown makes a difference.
they'd be like, oh my God, like all right. So now we're going to talk about the culture significance. Um, just a little backstory. I had did a client here who was from Brazil, right? This I did two. One who traveled to see me from Germany and I did her braids. And it was just like, oh, super. For me, I just was like an opportunity to braid different texture hair, like learn it. How does it work? How does the hair grip it? Let me see how it looks on there. So for me, it was an experience. For her, I guess it was an experience as well because she's like from Germany. But I had another client who was Afro Brazilian, right?
Mhm.
So she is like an influencer, big. She has big curly hair, and it's a lot, like it's a lot of hair. And she was like, she wanted to protect her hair, and she wanted crochet. Um, but it was no, she actually wanted braids first. I did her hair twice. So she wanted box braids because, of course, anybody with curly hair, you want it to be out of your face. You don't want to deal with it. Like, I understood that. Like, it's a lot of work waking up and having to spritz it and all that. So I did her hair, but she was a very lighter skin. So
Mhm.
um so she got a lot of backlash, like a lot. And everyone's like, you did her hair. I'm like, yeah, she has curly hair. Like she has curly hair. The reason why we braid our hair is to get it out of our face and the convenience of it. So I knew about that part and I'm like, and I knew her background. Like she's not appropriating. She's literally like, she's just lighter. Like
Mhm.
that was just the thing where they was literally attacking her and calling her Rachel. So she was just like, but so I wanted to talk about the culture significance, and how does Playbraids honor the culture significance of braiding, and how do you ensure it remains a form of self-expression and empowerment?
So you've seen my Instagram. I braid every texture of hair, every age, from babies to I've done mortuary. So, um, yeah, I have little blonde clients. I have clients from Africa that live there, come here, go back. Um, and it's just interesting to me. So my motive behind pretty much everything I do is curiosity. And I'm just genuinely curious. Like, what would it be like if I did this on this texture of hair? And luckily, I have friends and family that have wildly textured hair, and I have friends and family that have very slippery, fine hair. So I've been able to practice on them. And, people in my close circle will say, I really want micro locks. Can you figure out how to do it? And like, okay, cool. Like I've been wondering how that works. Like it looks so pretty, and I wonder, how it works. So, and I do understand the cultural issues that come up and how people get very bent out of shape. Rightfully so, like people have a right to be upset about something they see or something that I'm doing. But I don't agree with the attack first and ask later, which like you've experienced with your client. Instead of asking, like what is their background? I have clients that are South American that have white blonde hair, and they are, just speaking fluent Spanish in my chair. And I have clients that are Black that were raised by an entirely white family, and they have no ties to anything from their genetic culture. And so my issue on everybody's a keyboard warrior and gets really upset. And I'm very sensitive to the situation, which is why I ask questions first, and I'm curious about it. And I've told people no, people that want certain hairstyles that either is not right for their texture, or they don't understand what they're asking for. They saw it on Pinterest, or they want Kim K braids, and I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And let's find something that's better suited to your texture, your lifestyle. Do you know how to wrap your hair every night? Are you going to maintain this? Do you know that you're going to have to sit 7 hours for this? And yeah, it looks cute on Pinterest or on an influencer, but you need to know where the style came from, what you're going to have to do to maintain it. Um, so yeah, and I'm getting more into doing locks and learning about that. And I am doing it myself because I wanted to see how it formed. And it's been a fun journey so far. It's been like a month, and it's pretty fun and frustrating. But it's cool that my hair just does it.
It looks good. Like I feel like it goes with your entire look.
Yeah, I got really sick of combing out all the knots in my hair every day, and
Just like, let me just go with it.
let me just see what happens. And it was like, oh, we're doing this. Okay. So
No, but I think it's very important to not only like try out everything that you're about to like provide as a
mm,
service. Um, I think it's an education for everyone, like especially if you're a stylist. Like before I speak on anything, I'm like, I need to see how it is, because then I have to relate. Because then, of course, educating your client. Yes, no, you can't do that. This won't look right on you.
right.
That's going to take 7, 15 hours. Do you want to sit that long?
Yeah. And do you have that much money for
That
your hair
part.
today?
That part. So
Because,
it's,
yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Never mind. I'll do.
I'll do the same old thing that I used to do. Um,
Yeah.
so I really commend you on, just like making sure you educate everybody on like the the importance of where things come from. And you mentioned like the Kim K, which I'm pretty sure you've educated them on, like it's not called that, but people
Mm.
related to it because she had that. So I know people see photos, like even when we did like iris braids, we was like, we want iris braids, right? Like it's something that people just identify with, like I seen it on this celebrity, I want this. The pop smoke braid.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nipsey braids. It's not that right, and it's cornrows, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something that's been around, but I think it's because Kim K is not like, so it's like that bad thing, but people see photos and then just call it that. And I think it was yeah, I think she called it the boxer braids at one time, and it was like it was like it's cornrows or
Yeah.
plaid or something like that. So, but yeah, I think it's just trends. I seen something on TikTok the other day where it was about a nail technician though, and she was like, "Listen, I don't know what these people come together. They come off of TikTok and they see these bloody red nails or cherry something, and they want that. Look, that is not what it's called.
Yeah. Just show me a picture.
Yeah, it's this." And then a couple of hairstylists, including myself, was, writing in the comments like, we get it, where people like, we always have to learn something new when it comes to our clients because they're always coming with a photo from somewhere that they found, and they're like, can you do this?
Yeah.
I had to learn that with the knotless braids
Oh, yeah.
because I was like, what? Yes, I can. And I kind of Googled it and I went on YouTube and I was like, oh, it's like the feed-in braids, but it's just single
Yeah. Like
braid.
individuals, just, yeah.
Right. So individuals, I was just like, oh yeah, I could definitely do that. I practiced it first before I no testing.
Yes.
But it's like once you have that basic skill, you can do anything because you just like it's the finger work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like how much like I gotta try the 5 strand, the 4 strand. I have to. Like I really like I'm so tempted. I'm like,
Yeah. I gotta break it. I gotta make some more videos of that. I'm teaching it next week in Puerto Rico at the San Juan Beauty Show, so I'm excited about that.
oh, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah. So now we're gonna dive into the play braids. I know you haven't invented it yourself, but the fact that you were able to master it, and I feel like that's become part of your like brand. The 5 strand. Is it 4 or 5 strand? I think you could do it.
Yeah, the one that I keep doing, that's the five.
So okay, so now like I want to know like um how how important or how do like clients feel getting that done? I feel like this is not the question that I asked, but I'm like, as far as like, how is it on your end?
It's fun because I've had people ask for it. They're like, I want your viral braids. I had like a couple of my reels just like go off and get millions and millions of views. And so it's mostly like the teens and the tweens that are like, I want your viral braids. And then people will come up to me at shows now and say, oh my God, you're the one that does that crazy basket looking. And I didn't invent it. People have been doing it. People can do 7, 9, it's just like how you weave it. But it's just fun, and I have done it so much that it's like I've done it with my eyes closed and not even looking. And but I love teaching it, and I try to show everybody on my team. Like we have a huge team of braiders and locticians that we go to all the hair shows together and represent a product brand. So I'm trying to show all of them and just empower people. Like just try it. Like you didn't know how to braid 3 before somebody taught you. So, and if you're already braiding, like it's easier for me to explain it to somebody that's already braiding and understands stitching and adding in hair and feeding in to it. So it's just like anything in hair. Once you learn the basics, you can add to it and add to it, and that's kind of how my brain works. I'm like, now I want to feed in. Now I want to sew things into it. Now I want to try it on locks. Now I want to, it just kind of keeps going and going. So that's how that started. I've been doing that for years and years, and nobody ever seemed to care. So it's just kind of recent that it's like popping off.
Yeah, no, I think it, and like you said, curiosity is what keeps you like, where it's just like, okay, how can I do this on something else? So how can I just like add something? It's like keeping it like challenging yourself the entire process is also fun because then once you learn how to do that, you're like, what did I just do? Like I just unlocked another level,
Yeah.
which is also kind of making it your own. Again, I had not really seen as a braider, I have not seen like the 5 braids at all. So to me, it's just like opening myself to like, what? Like, let me not do this because then my client's doing it.
You stop because I have people asking for this.
Exactly. Well, no. They won't. I'll be like, you want to stick to. No, I'm joking. But I would have to perfect it on my end because a lot of new hairstyles or what's going viral now, it's happening south, right? Like it's happening there. Like there's like what else? The butterfly braids that people are asking for. Like I was just like, let me figure that out first before I mess up. And like you said, you can ask a client, let me practice on you first.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just collaborate, see if I can perfect this.
Yes.
Right. So with teaching, I'm just gonna circle back before I end up going off to the next planet. How do you maintain your like students and how you get them to um kind of embrace that new skill and keep them on like that path to succeeding in that? Like, how do you motivate them in ways?
I always say to do it over and over and over, and be curious about it and be frustrated and to expect that. I always equate things back to like sleep training and like potty training toddlers. Like at first it really sucks. But you have to expect that like you're gonna be like your hands are gonna work because they've never done it. You're not gonna immediately know how to do it just because you watched a video. You have to actually do it. And in doing that and teaching your hands how to do something, you're rewiring your brain, you're creating new pathways in there, which will help you with, maybe down the road you're not going to do hair anymore, or maybe you're going to, pursue something else or have a side hustle or a different hobby. And those pathways that you created and getting over that fumbling stage, that's a beautiful stage to be in because there's no expectations. Like it was like going to hair school. And I was coming from doing runway shows and print work and being published to going to hair school and first day like section the hair in two and I was like oh god. But that fumbling and that like I didn't know how to fade or use clippers. I've never I gave myself a pixie once in college, so that's the only time I used clippers on myself, but I didn't know what that felt like on the skin or what my clients were feeling and it was I love that beginning stage of not knowing what you're doing because there's no expectations. You don't have to be perfect and you allow yourself that space to be messy and discover a kid painting. Like, it's not going to be a Picasso. It's going to look like trash, but it's fun, and that's the that's where that's where I get lit up and really excited. Is that first the awkward phase.
Listen, it's gonna look like trash. That first one, but when you get to finish it and you do it and it's like on your own, it's still empowering. It's like this, okay, the beginning stage. But you can own it, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's definitely, I get it. I get it. I started doing my own hair at 11, and you couldn't tell me nothing. It looked crazy. But I
Yeah.
but I was like, oh my God, I did my own hair. And none of y'all know how to do your own hair. Like, I was like, my mother's not doing it. I'm grown now. But I kept on going until I got to high school, which was like 3 years later. And then people started asking me to do their hair because I perfected it on my own. So it was just like you have to go through that season of failing and being okay with looking terrible or doing terrible work and documenting it to that point where you're like, oh yeah, now I mastered this. Now they bring
Yeah.
on the
Looking back on like work that I've done that I thought was like, this is the best I've ever done. I look back and I'm like, oh, yikes, like that's embarrassing. But I'm glad I went through it and I'm glad I documented everything. And I tell a lot of students that too, like take pictures of it, show your starting point and post the trash because you're gonna look back later and be excited.
I'm just like the way you saying like just post the trash.
It's fine.
This is true. Yeah, no. So I have this the first piece of like braided artwork that I have. It's supposed to be a bra. It is terrible. Like it was falling apart. I just put it in a frame. So now when people come and like see my stuff, and they were like, oh, okay, this is amazing. I'm like, well, listen, it started there. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, that was it. That was it.
I love that.
But I never stopped. Like I was like, but it was just like you still see that, and it's inspiring to see like that beginning, like what because a lot of people think that you gotta start and you gotta be amazing. And
Mhm.
it's so delusional. Like, yeah, we do live in this delusional, you should be a little delulu, but no. Like I think you should be like, okay, the the reality is I've never done this before. And how can I expect myself to be great at it right away?
Mhm.
Right. So it's like give yourself like that grace and that space to mess up, to fall, to stumble into a great mistake. 'Cause sometimes you'll learn something and you'll be like, oh, just by messing up.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I can add this. I didn't know, so all right, so now we're gonna go into some fun questions. It's just so I wanted to ask when it comes to your favorite, I know you're gonna answer this, right? I was gonna say, what is your favorite braid?
It's probably a five strand. Um, but it's so funny. I realized that when I was on stage in the middle of doing hair and the other barber that was on stage with me, we kind of go back and forth and, chit chat with each other while we're demonstrating stuff. And I was braiding. Um, and he was like, what's your favorite braid to do? And I was like, oh, I don't know, a braid. And then I was like, wait, I know how to do something cool. So I just started doing it on the model that I had on stage, and everybody was like, what? And so just seeing that, I was like, yeah, now it's fun. Because before I was like, yeah, I know how to do this and whatever. Um, but so yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean it's a wow. It's a wow because I'm like my fingers like wait what? What? I would get tripped up. It would be from 4 to 5 to 3 to like I would be
Yeah.
all but the next one would be what is something, dang, I feel like that's kind of similar. What is something about yourself that someone would be surprised to know about you that you're willing to share?
Let's see. Well, so before I worked in the hair industry, and before I was a stay-at-home mom, I worked for the Defense Department and did procurement and negotiating for a lot of Defense Department contractors. I lived in DC for about 10 years after college, and yeah, and I worked on some congressional campaigns, presidential campaigns. So I had like a completely different life.
Well, I feel like sometimes you go from like completely corporate to just like I'm throwing in the towel. I'm just gonna have fun with
Yeah.
it.
Like flip the table, I'm out.
Like, nah, that's really like okay. That's
But it helps, like, and like I said, about learning about hair, like all of that work that I did really prepared me, which I didn't realize it would. I can negotiate a contract and speak with, really nobody flusters me because I've met presidents and, Congress people and been in, huge important circles. So I'm like, that's a person. Next.
that's that, and especially being the confidant. Because when you're hearing all of these things and these stories while you're doing these clients' hair, like you
Yeah.
have like that professional.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a steel trap.
Exactly. It's like, are you going to tell my secrets? Like, no, I'm a fly on the wall.
Yes.
Let it out. make your phone calls. But that is definitely surprising, but not at the same time. Like it's like I get it. I
Yes.
get because we all have like past and different interests.
Yeah.
So, ooh, okay.
And my coworker that I worked with in DC turned out to be my best friend, and she's the one that I do micro locks on now.
See?
So yeah, it came full circle, and now and we did a lot of hair tours together, and she was my model for stage for a ton of work that I've done. So
That is dope. That's amazing. Well, congrats on the switch. Like
thanks.
I am now
Thanks.
the crown of Pivot Queen. And now one of the last questions is since you do have like that background in contractual agreements or just doing hair in general for braiders, what is a book or a resource that you feel that would be a great tool for them to have in their like starting journey or like current?
Um, Definitely podcasts. Well, which is ironic because we're doing one right now. But that, while I was kind of transitioning from my past lives to this one, I was just soaking up information and just listening to the huge industry leaders, whether they were braiders, barbers, anybody that does hair. And I would always listen to, things that seem to not even concern me, like Kia Neal's The Texture versus all of that stuff, and Radically Free, Danielle Green, um, and the Passion Squared, and Hairbrained, and all the big ones. So just taking in that information, um, you never know what will come up that you can fall back on with that information.
That's perfect.
Uh,
Yeah, podcast, especially while you're doing hair.
yes.
Put in your head and you just braid away. And you're just like, okay. Because I mean, it's hard to really read a book while
True.
doing people. Yeah, when you're doing people, you can do an audio file, but as far as like, you definitely can just pop something in your ear and just zone out if your client's not talking to you.
Right.
Because sometimes then you be like, this is my like zone time. Maybe like, oh,
It's usually me. I'm the yapper while I'm doing hair. Like,
oh, yeah, I'm both. Like if I know they're doing work, so like you took them like high profile clients, sometimes they're usually with a laptop, and
yeah.
I'll because then I could like listen to my music, and they're like, "Can I?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead. Like pull up your laptop, you know." So, but if there's a real good like tell, like if I haven't seen them in a long time, and they're like, "Listen," I'll be like, "I'm here for it." You know, I'll be like, "So now what happened on this date?" It's really fun, but it's like knowing when to listen and knowing when to give them the space. So definitely as new braiders, listen to those podcasts, but also know when and keep it professional, like when you're going to be listening and when you're going to be listening to your own podcast or listening to the client.
Yes.
And then last but not least, how can our audience find you and support you in any kind of way?
So I'm only on Instagram. I tried Facebook and I couldn't figure it out. So, and I haven't done TikTok yet. And I feel like I probably should, but I'm also proud of myself for not doing it yet. So it's just Instagram, it's Playbraids. And people can DM me. I DM everybody. I'm a bugaboo and I'm shameless. I'm like, I want to do your hair. Like to anybody, like, oh, Bad Bunny's coming to town. Let me DM. And I don't care. So, but then I'm the same way. People will DM me and want to shadow me and, or just ask advice, other braiders, students, anybody. So yeah, the DMs are open.
Yeah, listen, this is how we connected.
Yes. Yeah. And if I don't answer, just put a comment under one of my posts and I'll see it.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's another jewel, just by saying how to connect with you, is just don't be afraid.
Mhm.
Be okay with looking crazy and just acts.
Yes.
But definitely please connect with Alli Parker of Playbraids. And thank you again for listening and tuning in for this episode of Braids in Motion, how Playbraids is redefining hair by Alli Parker. And you're listening to Karen Tenard, and this is the Art of Braids. Have a good one, y'all.